Welcome back to Insight. Hi, I'm Hammer, and with me now is Megan Klaus from Aging and In-Home Services, and we're here to talk about the Older Americans Month, right?
We are. We're going to be talking a little bit about Older Americans a Month and what we do to help celebrate that.
I thought maybe you were asking me to be the poster child. I wasn't sure.
No. Well, I mean, there are lots of poster children because older Americans are one of the most rapidly growing populations in our country. Fun fact.
So it says older Americans, but what are the numbers attached to that?
So older American in our world is described by anyone over the age of 65. That's typically the cutoff for Older Americans Act funding. But we also know that like you can get like the senior movie discount at 55. So it's all just a number, whatever you want to put next to it. But Older Americans Month has been around since 1963. It was part of President Kennedy's, I guess you could say, agenda, if you will. He had a really good personal experience with helping older family members and his family, and so he kind of saw that as an issue in our country, and he brought that to the forefront. And so in 1963, him and a group called the National Council of Senior Citizens, they worked together to create this month and celebrate older Americans who are in our country, both who are alive and who have passed, but also they kind of focused on those defending our country as well. So it was really just a celebration, a month-long celebration, and since then, in 1963, it's been a celebration that's been held every year.
And there's more and more and more of us with boomers.
Oh, yes.
That aren't we going to see one of the largest representations of total people with the boomers now?
Oh, absolutely. So it's something that's going to be very interesting, and we'll talk definitely more about that curve that we're seeing. But yeah, for the first time in a very long time, if it's ever happened before, there are more older adults than toddlers in the country, which is interesting.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? Eventually, I think we're all going to need that much care, you know.
Oh, yeah.
As time goes on. And I know it's so important as I look at mine and my wife's lives going forward. I think I want to age at home as much as I can.
Absolutely.
But I see more and more programs for older Americans, seasoned Americans out there. I mean, staying up on golf and the all-beloved pickleball.
Yes.
But there are so many great activities out there for people to maintain being young.
Right.
And no matter what the digit is, that can get along very well.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that people don't realize that when things like the Older Americans Act and the Older Americans Month started, older Americans were defined so differently in the 1960s than they are now. Back then, 50 was a completely different look and a completely different age than 50 is now. And so really just taking and seeing what happened then and how we can adjust to today's resources, programs, funding, it looks a lot different.
You know what I think made those numbers hitting 50 and then hitting 60 different? Because it was me doing those things. And so I think of my grandfather at age 60.
Right.
And I think, I go, I'm not like that. You know,
right.
My wife says I act like I'm 12 and I'm attached to a grown man's body, and somewhere in between the number is.
No, absolutely. I think it's really interesting. But so when they found that issue with funding back then, granted it's a lot different now, the issue with funding back then, that's why they wanted to celebrate this. That's why they wanted to bring attention to older Americans in general.
Megan, thank you so very much. We're going to be learning more all this month. Thank you for being here, and we're going to be back with even more. Thank you very much.
Yeah.